Test. There we go. Testing audio. There we go. Testing audio. There we go. Test. There we go. Testing audio. All right. I'm just checking my audio because my audio in my last stream was not that great at all. I was using my webcam. But anyways, guys, welcome to another stream here today. Or if you're watching this later, welcome to another video. I hope you guys are doing great, doing wonderful on this day. And yeah, let's get started, shall we? Let me just remove anything else, making sure I have chat available to you guys. Apologize for going a little bit later than I should, just because I'm having some issues setting up some stuff on my stream. Hopefully that is resolved and we're good right there. And everything's good, I hope. Okay, there we go. I had double audio. Apologize for that. All right. Oh man. Already getting crazy here. All right. So the plan for today, I did mention last week when I streamed that I was going to stream on Friday today, which is why I'm streaming on Friday, because I have plans to do grocery shopping tomorrow. So that's why I'm streaming here today. So it's, get the stream out here. Sure. Alright, so I think I got everything set up in here that I need. I believe I do. Alright, so the topic for today's stream, or for this live, is to fix some performance issues that I have in my game. I have two, but other than those two of my games, doesn't have any performance issues yet. Hoping that nothing else comes up in the future, right? But if you're new here, I can show you the two issues that I have that you're able to tell when you're in the game. So let me load into the game real quick and see if I can at least fix one of them. At least that's the plan. At least that is the plan. Alright, so reloading into the game. My game is procedurally generated. So I render my world into 9 chunks, right? So, so that way I'm not rendering the entire world. So I'm rendering in chunks. There's 9 chunks. 3 chunks at the top. There's one here, 2, 3. 3 in the center, right? And 3 at the bottom. So we got 9 chunks that we're rendering at a time. And every time I transition to a new chunk, it removes the last one and creates the new one. And this is where the issue comes up with my AStarGrid. And the issue with that is that every time I go to a new chunk, it freezes my game for a few seconds, because it's initializing the entire grid and figuring out what spots are solid or not, and that's not the right way to do it. I did it earlier like that just because I wanted to get it done, but I think it's time to go in there and try to fix it. So if I were to go a little bit to the right now, it would chug a little bit, and then we're back to normal, and I want to fix that. So let me go to the right now. Boom, it kind of chugged a little bit. If I go back, it freezes for a second, and that is what I want to fix. This chug right here. So the idea here, and I was thinking about it, how to fix it. It might be a really quick solution, but I don't know. Every time I say that, something happens and it doesn't end up working. So let's dive into the script. So if I go to my NPC manager, I believe it's the NPC manager. No, it's not the NPC manager. It's Eden's AStarGrid. There we go. So we got the AStarGrid here. Is a, like I said, it's an AStarGrid2D, and I set up my grid here temporarily at the beginning when it gets ready, and then once my level is ready, it calls this function and passes in the tile map information, and I basically iterate through all those cells and to initialize that path, you know, determine if that tile is solid or not, or walkable or not. And like I said, I have 9 chunks, and each of those chunks there's a 30 by 30 tiles that I'm rendering, so that's a lot of tiles that I'm doing, and iterating through all of that. So what I would like to do is most likely not do this part here, right? So I'm gonna comment that entire thing because I actually don't need it. I don't need to clear it out either. So it will call this. I will call this function every time a new chunk gets loaded in. So I don't want to clear all my path. I don't want to clear. What do you say? I don't want to iterate through the entire grid for all those chunks. So I'm gonna comment those things out. And if I, you know, let's test it out. Let's check it out to see if it chugs or not, or it freezes. Hopefully it doesn't error out because I don't have anything there, but we'll find out. We shall find out. So if I go to a little bit to the right, I should not have any freezes in here, or at least there's one more actually. Hold on. So this is just a tiny little freeze there. It's not huge as it was before, right? That little tiny freeze is the other performance that I'm talking about, and that has to do with the cliffs. But I will come back to that once I finish with this one. So this is just a tiny little one right now compared to how it was earlier. Was a huge freeze. So what I want to do here is that, let's see how I want to handle this. I need to figure out when this gets called, if it gets called after everything gets generated, or does it get called first? No, it has to be after, because then it's iterating through all of this stuff after everything's already initialized. So what I can do is call this right away because I actually don't need this. So once I know my tile map, I want to pass it in here, and as I'm iterating through all my grids when I'm setting up the tile, and for that specific section or position, I can actually say, hey, if this position or tile position is blocked, call a function to set that position to be solid in the AStarGrid. So let's go into my C++ code because that's where I'm initializing my tile map stuff. So we got this chunk tile map, and I'm iterating through all my terrain types, right? And in here I can determine if that tile is blocked or not, or it should be not walkable, and I can actually call a function here to then set that position to be solid or not. And that will avoid me from actually iterating through the entire grid again afterwards. So let's see. We got ground environment, so probably I'll have to go through here, going through this ground environment. And for trees, we got trees, we got some other stuff that we had to deal with as well. There's grass, and then we got the rocks. So rocks is not passable, trees are not passable right now, I believe, and water. Of course, water is not going to be. It's not going to be walkable, right? All right. So let's figure out where we call my game manager. Where in game manager am I calling that initialized path? Where's my game manager here? Game manager. Well, here I am somehow at one point I believe it's in here. If I go back to Godot, I want to copy this function call, a function name, and search for it here. There we go. So that's where we call it, and I think it should be done. Yeah, I don't want to do it on tile map generation complete. I probably want to do it before. I want to. That's the question. The reason I want to call it before is because I wanted to initialize the entire grids, right? But it doesn't know about it yet until after it generates it. But can I set points outside the bounds? Would that be an issue? Would that be an issue calling points to be solid if that point is not within the ret bounds of the AStarGrid grid? I don't think so. That will be a problemo. At least. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work out the way that I thought it was gonna work out. What we can do is just keep track of all those positions instead. And then pass it probably in here, which will be an array of items that we can need to iterate through. And I would like to avoid that though, but do I know at this point my position of the player? Maybe I can define some type of rect. Trying to find a solution right now, because I need to know my entire AStarGrid grid bounds before I can call the points to be solid or walkable or not. But I don't know it until after generation is complete. Do I know it? Let's go into the chunk tile map. Do I know it at all before I generate everything? I might be able to. All right. Let's see. Let's go into all this stuff. Let's go. Generate chunks. I think we do. Should know the position, because when I generate the level, I pass in a position, which is basically the player's position, I believe, and I generate everything around it. What do I do with that position here? Do I even use it at all? I use it here to determine the difference, and this will tell me what new tile maps I'll need to generate. Yeah, so I keep track of it in current spatial partitioning here. Okay. So in this sense here, I can probably generate a rect here on the first chunk tile map. I know its position. And it's a 30 by 30 grid like I mentioned. Yeah, I think I could generate a rect in here. You know what I can do? Instead of actually calling it in here, no, I do need it though. Let me look at my game manager. Just double checking that game manager in GD script. Load data, I don't need any of that stuff. Where's my initialized load? I should probably use. There we go. So I initialize AStarGrid, which calls this. Initialize it. But why don't I just call it on my... Because each dungeon has its own thing. Dungeon has its own tile map. What I wanted to do was to just move this call into my chunk tile map instead and call it in here before we generate anything, so that at least I know my rect, the size of the AStarGrid. So I'm trying to find a way to do that right now without actually crashing. So if I recall, this is in tile map, but Dungeons has its own tile map too, right? It's not called, yeah, this one's called its dungeon. I mean, I can call it here too. Wouldn't be a problem either. This passes a spatial partitioning here as well. And okay, so it calls spatial partitioning here as well, which then this one calls my C++ generate, which is the function that I just showed you guys. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to create another function here that would initialize that. So let's try that out. Let's go in that direction. And then I'm gonna have to have it in both areas here and the chunk tile. There's only going to be 2, so it shouldn't be a big deal if I did that. Let's go back to my game manager real quick and copy that function, or just copy this entire thing. And if I went in here, just gonna call initialize map size, right? Hold on, what does a rect need? Hold on, what does a rect 2D need? If I pass in a rect 2D, I need a position, I need the size, and I need and? What is the and for? You can generate from that. Oh, there we go. You can generate from position and size. Okay. Now let's try that. So what we can do in here, I can initialize that, but I would like to pass in something else, which ends up being rect2d, which passes in the current spatial. Actually, no, I do not need this. I need to pass it in here. Map start position, because my player is always in the center of the grid, so that will not work. I want the top leftmost position of the map, so that's why I'll need to do this instead. And then I need the size, which is, it's not vector 2D, it's 2. The size, which ends up being a vector 2. Right, so I need the map start position and the size. So that's what I want to do in here. And in here, I want to pass that rect. Map rect. So rect2D. Why does this error out? Or is it just rect2? Oops. And instead of using the get use rect right here, well, hopefully we don't need it anymore, and we'll pass in the map rec instead, and hopefully that is all I need. Okay, let's go back. This should be clearing up soon. I don't know if I have to call new on this. I'm unsure about if I need to always just a regular vector. But other than that, we can call this function now instead in C++, I guess. So let's call that. Let's go to C++. And right before it calls generating here, we would like to call that. Oops, supposed to be in the string. Since my GD scripting so this is chunk tile map. This chunk tile map node uses my C++ class, and it has a script of eating tile map that gets hooked on at the bottom. So I'm able to interact with both of them, right? So I can just call this function, and it should call it to my GD script. And I want to pass in some type of position here. It's going to be errors because I don't have this position yet. And map size. So this can be errored out first until I generate those. So let's see. So I get my current spatial position plus the local position, and this position here is in tile coordinates, and this has a local position. So this will give me my rightmost position, right? So if this is in tile coordinates, let's look it up. Just double check that that is tile coordinates before I keep going forward. So if I go here and I go to the bottom, I think it's in here. There's my updates. I divided by 16, which is the size of the tile times the 30, about how many tiles there is. Yeah, so it's in tile position. That's all I needed to know. So this is in tile coordinates, which gives me the top left, the first array of this chunk, the first item position should be the top leftmost position in tile coordinates. So I need to convert that into world coordinates. But let me I can get position. Just trying to look to see if it already does it for me without me doing all that math. Not that hard anyway, but if I have something already doing it, I'm gonna call it. So it gets the spatial partitioning, tile position. Yeah, this is just in tile coordinates, so it's not gonna give it to me in actual coordinates. Does it need to be in world coordinates? Let's look at, hold on, before I go in this route, let's go back into my email. Yeah, we're here already. Let's save all. What I wanted to do. Yeah, that's gonna be aired out for a second. Hold on. Before I even do any of this stuff, I would like to log out the rec that I'm passing in. I want to know what it is. Does the positions need to be in world coordinates or can it be in tile coordinates? So let's go back to AStarGrid. And in here, I just wanna let's just revert this function back. We'll come back to it in a second. Right. So what I want to do is just console. I just want to print out this rect here. Yeah, I want to know what it is. It's a rect eye, by the way. So I need to. I should be able to play it. Let's look at the log for this and see how it looks like. Hopefully it doesn't crash or anything. Let's wait. Did I? No, because I haven't built my C++ class. C++ stuff, so it should still work fine. So let's load in here. Okay, there we go. So we got this here. So size S is probably most likely the size, which is 163 by 122. And the position is 13 and 120. And what position am I in? Sorry, going back in here. I need to see what the position of the player is at right now. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Its position is here. World pause, it's 1800 by negative 1300-ish. But its tile position is 118, which is fine because the size of it is 163. Okay, so it's in tile coordinates from the looks of it. So it doesn't need to be in world coordinates. I don't need to pass in the size of in world coordinates, right? So I need to tell it how much tiles is along vertically and horizontally, and how many tiles it is from the min of the X and the max of the X. That'll be the size. And the same thing for the other one. Okay. Got it. I believe I got it. Okay. Let's go to C++ real quick. So if it needs to be in tile coordinates, then I know that the first one that I have in here, the first tile here should be assuming that it's in the top left corner. The first position in here should be the position that I'm passing in here. The first one. So if I were to go in here, I need to pass in the first one. And then the size, I need to determine from the top left corner. No, I don't need to determine that. So if I get a vector 2 I map size. We go Godot vector 2 I. The size is gonna be, I guess it will be the same for both. So for X, I got my map size, my world size, right? Which is 30. And there's 3 grids across. So I just need to multiply this by 3 for the X, and then the same thing for the Y. That's how big I want the map size to be. But this one doesn't really match up to what I was looking forward to. right? The size doesn't make sense a little bit. It goes beyond 163. More size is 30. But the size here is 163 by 122. Yeah, that's not gonna work because this is 30. If I multiply by 3, it's 90. So it doesn't really match up to what that is. They'll both be 90. There's a 90 by 90 tiles in here. 90 tiles going horizontally and 90 tiles going vertically. But that doesn't make sense. How they calculated this. So let's comment this out. Let's log some stuff in here. And let's print out what is the position at this location. Or you know what? Let's just print out the entire, just so I don't have to come back here again. And we'll print out the position for this. I'll pass in that. So that'll give me the positions for all of those. Now let's look at how that looks gonna look like. Did I touch my game manager? I did say it was gonna be easy though, right? Yeah, some things came up right now that I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so I didn't touch that, so I can build this. I think I need a way to calculate the bounds of my grid. Alright, so let's build some building. We print out that too. And let's see what's up. Alright, hopefully it doesn't crash on me. Alright, cool. And the log for the other one's not gonna show, but in here. So we got got 60 and negative 120. All the way to 120 to negative 60. Okay. That wasn't the position that I was thinking of. So I wanted to figure out how does the rec determine the size of this? Because the size is 163 by 163 on the X and 122 on the Y. And the position is negative 13 and negative 120. Because it goes 60, 90, 120. Right, that's 30, 60. Let's draw it out. Let's open. Oh, let's open this thing. Hold on. Let's open a new file. All right, so let's open this. Let's see it and see how it looks. All right, let's actually go one more round. Make it a little bit bigger. Make it another 30, another 16, I should say. It's fine. It's 32. Nothing crazy, actually. All right, so we have. Let's draw it up. I'm gonna use this instead of paint. So we got this top left point, right? Top right most points right there, and going along with my position here, this is 60, right? Oh, but that's not gonna be great. Is there a way to let's make it bigger? Whatever. This is 60 on the X on top, and then we get this point here, which is 90. Well, that's terrible, right? This point here, and then we got this point here, which is 120, right? 120. So that means the topmost point is going to be another 30 from 120, so it should be 150 on the X. Yeah, I probably should have used paint instead. Unless I can use something else so it's not super pixelized. I mean, that's what this is, right? Aseprite. So this point here, it's going to be 150 on the X. Now it starts at 60, top leftmost point. The next chunk starts at 90. The next chunk starts at 120, but the ends at 150. And the same thing will be going down below, right? So top right point is going to be 90 on the Y. Top right point here, it's going to be 120. But like I mentioned before, the bottommost point is going to be 150. Let's see, did I do that correctly? Well, technically it starts at negative 120. Then it goes to negative 90. And then to negative 60. And then it should be 30, negative 30 in the bottom. This is, my grid is on the top. Trying to figure out how they calculate all this stuff. From 60 on the X, we got this tile here, this tile, and this tile. This is my entire grid size here. 9 by 3 by 3 grid. And it's like all crazy messy now. Won't be a way to calculate that then. Let's look at the tile map. Let's look at the tile map. Let's see, tile map layer. I wanted to actually, oh, there we go, that's what I wanted to do. Tile map layer. We get this used rect. Returns the rectangle enclosing the used non-empty tiles of the map. Non-empty tiles of the map. Hey, what another thing I can do if I wanted to. What happens if I go to the next chunk tile map? So now it's 90, which makes sense because it goes by 30, right? On the X, so we went 30 that way. But the position stayed the same. It didn't shift over. Alright, well, let's try something else right now. Let's, oops, I went inside the house. I did it too fast. That did not work out the way I thought it was gonna work. I wanted it to keep moving, but I moved myself a little bit faster, but that was way too fast. Whoopsies. I'm trying to understand this tile position rect that it spits out. But can I? Nah, I don't. You know, I'm not gonna risk it. Whatever. So just keep going. We'll figure this out. So I'm looking at the position down here. If you notice, the position of the tile still stays the same regardless of wherever it's at the moment. And there's water here, so I'm not going to be able to go through there. Too many trees. That's a big lake. Okay, so now it's starting to get negative here now. So there's been some updates. So I wanted to see what happens if I go to negative the pile position at 0, 0. Where am I going to be at? Where's it going to lay it on me right there? Maybe I can see it a little bit better if I did it that way. Oh, hey, my farm is in here. Now let's go a little bit to the right. I don't want this to be on my way. You're almost there. And maybe I can see it a little bit better this way. Okay. So there's 0, 0. There we go. 0, 0 here. Okay, so we're 0, 0. The X on the position is negative 30, which, you know, kind of makes sense. Because my top rightmost position up top is negative 30. Wait, hold on. Am I in the right place? Yeah. So my top rightmost position is negative 30 and negative 30. If my player is in the center in the origin, then the top rightmost position should be negative 30 up all the way up here. But then it has on the Y negative 103. Why is it 103 on the Y? That is what I'm trying to understand. Going to be negative 30 by negative 30? Why is it a negative 103? Is there some type of padding going on in here? And the size is 154 by 163. Yeah, that is very confusing on how that actually works out here. Let's open up Paint, and this is going to show you what I'm thinking of. I'm gonna use Paint because Aseprite is kind of too pixelated for me. So let's use Paint for right now. Or can you just use that? So my thought process here, so let's pretend this is my grid here. I don't know why it's so laggy. Maybe it's too huge, the thing, right? So this is my 3x3 grid, which is my entire chunks, right? So yeah, this is super laggy. Hold on, let me resize this. Yeah, that's crazy. I don't need it that big. Let's do it 300 by 300. It doesn't need to match it. Alright, so I'll just redo all this stuff in here. It's still a little laggy, huh? Interesting. I thought that was gonna fix it. Never mind then. Alright, let's zoom in here. So we have this grid here. It feels a little better though. It might have been black. Apologize for being red. Do it black. Probably be easier on the eyes there. So we got this grid. Not perfect grid, but a grid. And if I'm in the topmost position here, and this blue point here, this is how much as I can zoom in, huh? But this position here should be 0, 0. This tile chunk should be at 0, 0, right? Meaning that if this is 0, 0, my entire chunk is at 30 by 30. That means that this point on top should be negative 30, and on the Y should be negative 30. So that's how I think that tile map, well, that's what I thought it should be. Why is this negative 103? Is where I'm kind of lost at right now. That is where I'm lost at. Why is this, assuming that the position that's in here is in the top leftmost corner? But it should be though, right? Because you got the size will tell you how much you should go horizontally and how much you should go on the Y. And it should give you this point eventually if you were to use this position plus the size to be in the bottom corner. But in this case, it's looking like the point is actually much higher all the way up there at a negative 103. Why is the point much higher? Like the X makes sense. I don't know why the Y doesn't make sense. I'm gonna have to look at that deeper and figure out why this one does not. I'm gonna have to do research on why that doesn't match up compared to what this says. Negative 103 on the Y. There's a point down here should be just negative 30 and 0, and a point here. Just to be negative 30, right? But it should be 30. Like it says right here. Well, there should be a point here. It's negative 30 and 30. There we go. But it doesn't really make sense as to why that doesn't match up. That's why I'm getting confused right now as to why that doesn't work out. Alright, let's go to the different direction. Then if that is not going to work out, I got to figure out how to determine that position. If I can do that, that'll be an additional performance that I can do. But if you go with the other route that I'm talking about, so let's comment that off. I'll come back to all of this stuff later. So what I would like to do instead then, I would like to keep track. Let's keep an array. You can do a typed array actually. Of vectors. A vector 2i. And we call it non-walkable. Position. Why is this crying? Type name is not allowed. Isn't that what this is? Oh, it's using the. It's not the array. My bad. I'm using the wrong thing here. All right. So we got non-walkable areas. So as I'm iterating through all of this stuff in here, we can go back and going through here, and in this area we're populating my trees in here. In here we can get the chunks of my current iteration. And this is a pointer? It should be a pointer, right? It's not a pointer. So it could be as non-walkable positions. And we can append this tile position here. Alright, so we keep track of this position. I may have to keep track of its size because sometimes the tiles can be, the trees can be occupying more than one tile. But let's make this work for the time being. And then we have rocks. So I'm gonna put an if in here because this returns true if we actually populated something. And just to be safe, we'll just do that. And the same thing for rock tiles. I'll probably have to come back here, may add additional points in here to be non-walkable. I think that's the only two. I do have houses, so I may have to go on the scenes here. So how do I calculate that right now? So iterate through all of them, get the cell position. I'll probably have to pass in another array for this. We set the cells in here. Let's see. Yes, I'm trying to see if I can keep track of it in the chunks. I'm trying to see if I can find a way. This is how I spawn my village area and my town area. And this is how you set the cells and all of that stuff in here. I want to know if there's a way to figure out what chunk in my. I probably can calculate it. We'll come back to that. So let's work on just trees and rocks for the time being. So after it's done, let's see, after it's done, I should have calculated everything I need. It iterated through all the terrain types. So this chunk should be done already. What I can do, we can call a function here where we can initialize non-walkable points, and we pass in that chunk. Of I, and we pass in the non. Is it I? Did I miscalculate? Maybe it wasn't I. Oh, it's chunk. Okay, so I gotta keep track of that. Not I and the other one. It should be chunk. My bad. Non-walkable position. So we pass in that array through there. And let's go back to the other thing. Actually, it's supposed to be chunk ID, not I. Here we go, and here we go. Chunk. There we go. So then, after each chunk, it will call this to initialize the path. So let's call this function on my chunk tile map up top. I can turn this off. And in my, where's my in tile map, instead of using it, I will come back to the top I'll come back to doing this because this is actually a better option, but I need to figure out how they actually calculate that bounds for direct for the tile map. So until then, we'll have to wait. Actually, let's just pass it in here. We pass it in the Godot. Oh, it's not. We're in Godot already. To be non-walkable positions, and it's an array, or it should be typed. No, we can do it right here with vector 2i. And in here we can call Eden's AStarGrid. We call it at solid points, and we pass in this array here for the time being. Okay. And then let's go into AStarGrid here, because I don't have that function yet. Okay. Create a function called AStar at solid points, and we can have that non-walkable, or let's call it solid positions, be an array for vector 2i, and in here you want to pass in the AStarGrid. We want to iterate through all of these for position, solid position, and solid positions. We wanna get the AStarGrid. We call the set point solid to solid position, and that's all we need to do. So if we come back, yeah, for now I'll just leave it. I don't need all this stuff. Where's my eating star stuff here? Okay, let's go back to C++ once more. And something that came up in mind is that I should probably not be calling this until after we're finished generating. So it clears the door. Okay, so after I finish everything and it calls it on my C++ class, I need to get the on generation complete, and after the generation is complete, 0 I is less than and chunk size I is less than a plus I. Then I want to call this, actually, you know, just call it chunk ID then. Keep that the same. Okay, so once it calls it generate complete, it should have already called this initialize path to initialize my AStarGrid like it's supposed to. And then if I came back to this in here, we'll call this function on my AStarGrid to then call my AStarGrid to initialize all those stuff in here. One thing we can do, let's put a print error, just double check to see if the order is correct. And let's call it at solid points. Just to make sure everything's ready. And then let's build this and let's see if it doesn't crash when I run it. All right. So the goal here is to I have that build already. So it should be, once I run it and play it, it should print out my rect, and then it should print out all the, and then it should print out the function call. But give me a second, guys. I'll be right back. I'll be right back, guys. Give me a second. All right, let's apologize for that. Something went on right now. All right, so yeah, so I should print out the rec and then call the function that I. Oh, what's the name of it? So then it will then print out this. So let's test that out. Let's see if everything, if I haven't already. All right. Let's run it. Let's see what's up. And load the game. Let's run it. If it doesn't crash, I hope. Alright, so I called it multiple times, which is, should be fine. Okay, so it technically did not work. Let's find a rock. Yeah, that did not work out. That's a thought. Actually, it worked for this one a little bit. See, I can click on it. So if I click on a rock, and how my logic works is if I click on something that's solid, it picks a point nearby it. So like this one. So it looks like some did work. As you notice, I can't go and click on top of the rock anymore because I'm not. It's using AStar right now. But I noticed there's some that do go in it. What was the one that I went in it? Like this one? Oh, you know why? Because the village. Remember, I ignored the village part. Okay, so anything inside the village is not gonna work because I ignored those. I ignore all the trees from the village and all of that because I needed to figure out what chunk I'm in. I mentioned that earlier, but anything outside the village, like these, should work. Whew. All right. So I should have called this 9 times, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. Cool. So it's still a little chugging. Yeah, it's still a little chugging here. And this probably has to do with me. I mean, yeah, it's still crazy. Just look at that. I felt like the other way would have been a lot better, I think. Because I'm still iterating through a lot of items. Another thing I could do probably if the other way does not work out is I'm gonna have to do threads. I may have to do threads. Because most likely I'm iterating. Let's see how many positions. How many am I iterating through? What is the size of all of these guys? So I'm printing out the size. Let's see how much it's gonna be. There's gotta be a lot of things in here, I believe. Or I don't know if printing the log will cause that big of a hitch. I don't think so. Okay, so we're iterating 45, 43, 70, 41, 105, 92, 85, 137. It's actually not that crazy. I mean, that felt fine. Oh yeah, the other side has a lot more compared to when going left. I mean, right. But that's also the fact that I'm not clearing out all of the positions that I'm going in there. So it keeps track of all the ones and reiterating. So that's why it's actually bigger. So it's not that a problem right now. Okay, let's I'm trying to figure out What is the plan? Okay. So in this sense, I need to do the same thing here. And append non-walkable positions. I'm gonna do this for every single one of them, don't I? But before I do this, I gotta clear out this one, and do the same thing for every single one of them down below. So it's gonna be 5 and 4. 5 and then 4. Eight. Oops, it's supposed to be 8 and 7. One and 0. We got 4. 3. Probably do this in the for loop, so I don't have to do all of this stuff if it's possible. And 6. And then I'm already cleared this. Do I have to re-clear it again, or oh, I don't clear it at all. Alright. So we're clearing 036, 036, 036. And if I move to the right, I need to do it the other way. So we clear out non-walkable positions through there. We add it and we do that. Probably be the easier way is to do that instead. And just copy this. Da, da, da. Let's see if this improves and helps out that lagginess that I'm having, because the array is not being cleared every time a new chunk comes in and coming back to the same chunk. Those are not being cleared at all. So I'm clearing those things out. Do, 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 do. Do, do. And then just clear out all of them again here. Alright, oops. There we go. Then if you're moving, the chunk is moving on the Y, we gotta do that too. Not walkable. Non-walkable. Okay. That's looking fine. And then we have to clear it, and we need to do it one more time when it moves to the right, to the bottom. So we'll need to do it one more time. Alright, and let's see if this at all improves anything. I mean, I needed to do that regardless because I needed to clear those grids out. Okay, that is built. And let's run it. Let's see if we're still seeing that chug, the freeze. Okay, we got that. Okay, so now you can see it's not that huge and everything stays the same. All right. Okay, so it's not that huge of a chug right now. The question is that chug still because of what I'm doing or not? Let's disable my clips, because that's the other issue that I'm having. Counting this set cells connect, it is a big problemo. Doing it on runtime, so that is not happening. So let's just turn this off, turn this off. And that's the other performance issue that I wanted to figure out how to handle. So if I turn those off and come back into the game, let's load it in. All right. Okay, it's a little tiny chug on it. It is not too crazy, but I know there could be improvements, and if I can figure out how to get the rect for the tile map, I won't need to be doing iterating through all those positions and adding into the AStarGrid, and it'll avoid me from iterating through all of that, and that'll be in like an additional performance. So at least it feels better. It's not too crazy where it halts for like a second and then it returns back to normal, and I actually prefer that, and I prefer this than over what I had before. So, you know, we did something today. I'm running out of time already though, but I think we're in a good spot here. I just need to figure that out, and maybe you can figure that out in the next stream, and we can start implementing the other direction that I had, because that will avoid me from iterating through all the points, and I don't need to do that. I feel like I can do the improvements, and if I can't, then maybe you can do threads The only thing about threads is that I don't know if, where is it at? Where's that function at? I don't know if I can call this function inside of a thread. Because I know in tile map layer functions, you cannot call stuff in the threads. So I'm wondering if this is the same. So I'm gonna have to look into that and see how that goes. But anyways, we know we fixed 90% of that chugginess that we had in here. So you know that's a plus. And I'm actually feel so much better about it than I did before. So cool. Cool. I apologize for taking that a little bit longer. I actually thought that the rec that we were doing, did I close my paint? No way I closed my paint. I really thought the coordinates of that tile map was different. And I don't know why is it defined that way in Godot? Why is the Y so much higher than it needs to be? And how they calculate the size. That's the issues that I'm trying to figure out. And I don't know what exactly is happening in the hood when it comes to generating these. But we can you know, hopefully I can look at that off screen, or maybe in the next stream we can look into that and fixing, maybe improving this a little bit more. But I'm actually very happy about where it's at right now, at least. Not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. And then figuring out how to fix the cliffs. Maybe we can look to a different plugin when it comes to tile maps and see maybe in other plugins they fix that. Or I'm gonna have to generate my own thing about that. But yeah, that's about it for this stream, guys. We improved it just a tiny bit. Not a tiny bit, like maybe 80% of it. And we can keep going in the next performance update. And we'll see what we can do in the next stream. But cool. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, or you know, the stream. And we can jump into the next thing next time. I'll either be here Sunday. If not, I'll be here next Saturday. I try to stream once a week, maybe 2 if I'm able to. So I'll be on Saturday if anything. So anyways, guys, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day, a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Signing out.